I'm sitting here today talking to Lloyd Lofthouse, who is the author of the book Crazy is Normal. It's about his experience teaching in the public high school. Lloyd was a public school teacher for 30 years and is now retired and has just published this book. Lloyd, first of all, I'd like to ask you, after reading Crazy is Normal, I was just wondering, what motivated you to write this book? And specifically to choose the year 1994. You journaled your whole year at your high school and everything that happened that every day of the year for that 1 year. And I'm wondering what made you choose this particular year and what motivated you to write the book in the first place?
Well, the reason why I picked 1994 after 20 years of teaching is because it was obvious to me that I was teaching a different class of students in the one journalism class I taught. My first 4 classes every day were like the kids I taught for 20 years. A lot of them were from gangs, they were from poverty. But with the journalism kids, I had these kids who were focused. They could teach themselves. With a little guidance, they could go into orbit. It was an incredible difference between night and day. And I thought in my second year of teaching journalism, that one journalism section, that I wanted to capture that.
Lloyd, we were talking before we went live, and you brought up some criticisms that you had heard of your book, that 1994, the year the book was written about, isn't relevant in today's public education. How would you explain that it is relevant, even though a lot of things have changed? For example, Race to the Top, No Student Left Behind. How is 1994's experience relevant to today?
I'll tell you why a teacher's memoir set in a classroom in 1994 is still relevant today. The children and the parents haven't changed. There are children who grow up in poverty, belong to street gangs, have learning disabilities, come from dysfunctional homes with dysfunctional parents who do not foster love of reading in their children. And then there are the parents who are involved in their children's lives as they nurtured them and read to them from a very early age. There are homes with no books. There are families with not enough food. After all, almost 50 million Americans live in poverty. And that includes a quarter of the children. It wouldn't matter if it was 1964, 74, 84, or 94. The variety of parents and children does not change. Poverty is a horrible beast, an evil vampire. It sucks the lifeblood out of our children. I was born into poverty, and my parents didn't manage to work their way out of it until I was almost 12. President G.W. Bush's No Child Left Behind, with its impossible mandate that public school teachers succeed with 100% of the children and have them ready for college or a job by 18, is not going to change anything, because there isn't one country on this planet that has achieved such an absurd goal ever to defeat poverty. President Obama's Race to the Top made it worse, and Bill Gates' Machiavellian Common Core agenda that blames teachers, strips them of their labor unions, takes away their job protection, and then fires them for not achieving the impossible, won't change anything either.
But what is the solution to public education?
Well, the solution is we don't have a failing system. We don't have a system that needs to be reformed. What we have is a system that needs to be improved. And to improve that, first we have to have kids who love to read when they reach kindergarten and first grade. Because what's missing in the at-risk kids' lives, the kids who grow up in poverty, is a love of books. So that's why we need some sort of a national childhood education, early childhood education program that reaches kids as young as 2. They do it in France, and poverty has been cut in half in the last 30 years in France. In the United States, not even half the states have early childhood education programs, and they're turned over to the private sector. In France, the teachers have to be college educated, so you've got highly educated professionals trusted by a country, and they're doing their job. And then there's teachers. The best teaching program in the country is the one that's the least utilized. 1 year residency, full-time in a classroom with a master teacher, and then a year of follow-up support from the teachers' colleges when the teachers are in the classroom. The The rate of losing these teachers, over 86% of the teachers that go through this small marginal program called residencies, year-long residencies, is 86% retention rate. While teachers who go through traditional teaching colleges, it's almost a 50% retention rate. And when you take Teach for America, which gets a lot of press, it's only a 30% retention rate. So the more training we get, Teach for America gives their teachers 5 weeks of training, no classroom support. The traditional teachers get a little bit more training, but little classroom support. To a program where we have teachers that get a year of training, like they do in France, and then follow-up support until they feel confident to handle the job on their own and they don't feel like they're thrown in the ocean with weights on them and they can't swim.
Well, this is the book, Crazy is Normal. It talks all about public education, its problems, its real problems and its real solutions, and how it's relevant today with everything that's going on, Race to the Top, Common Core, charter schools. And the author again is Lloyd Lofthouse, Crazy is Normal.